topic of where is hell located came up a few times in the comments during the years, and now I decided to make a video because I think this is a relatively easy question to answer, because we have abundant information across the full spectrum of religious and spiritual teachings, and most importantly, these pieces of information do not contradict each other at all. Just on the opposite, they confirm each other again and again. The only difference is that in the different paradigms, they focus on different aspects of it. Now, to understand where is hell actually located, first of all, we need to understand a bit the correct structure of the universe and what is beyond, because the modern story which they're teaching in school is a cunningly fabricated lie, custom tailored to keep us in bodily consciousness and ignore the multi-dimensional aspects of our own being. If we believe them, there is nothing else real, whatever that means in their terms, except the three-dimensional things we know of, which automatically means that life is more or less meaningless, and there is no problem if you are an evil person. All these stars which we see in the sky are not other suns, as they are assuring us. Although some of them may share some of the physical laws and the properties of time and space on Earth, still, most of them, if somehow we get teleported there, we will most likely not see anything. And on those which we see, quite often we will not be able to make any sense of it whatsoever. Just imagine if time flows differently, or the physical dimensions are not three, but maybe two or seven. Our human mindset simply cannot wrap around such things at all. There is some percentage of truth in, for example, the structure of the solar system, which they are teaching in school. That is partially true. And the worlds which are more or less near Earth, we can make some sense of them, and even sometimes communicate with the local residents. So, for a very small portion of this universe, we can make some sense, but the rest is so much beyond us that it's kind of irrelevant to even discuss, because the very fabric of the material creation, the chemical elements and time, they're organized in different types of structures, if they're there at all, because in many corners, even of our universe, they are fully astral realms. And not only that, but they can overlap in terms of space. Even our own Earth, it's like an onion with many different layers. And in the layers which are invisible to us, there are also civilizations, or shall I say, group of souls which consider this place their home. That is already not easy to imagine in detail, although one can accept it theoretically, but how does it actually work? We cannot go into technicalities. So, what to speak of realms where the physical laws are quite different or not applicable at all? So, the stars in the sky are not necessarily other suns, but they are kind of almost a symbolic representations of other clusters of realms or consciousnesses, which look like dots of light when a given creation is perceived from another creation, something like a translation between realities. Visiting other realms is usually impossible, only with exception of realms which are quite similar to the being which wants to travel, and advanced souls which take upon missions and have to go to other realities. They do not travel with their current body, but instead they make arrangements to procure bodies which are suited for the target reality. Same like all the devils who have now taken possession of human bodies and pretend to be humans. In the said material, it is also mentioned that some malevolent species from other realms are penetrating ours in the form of viruses. And most likely, these are the lab created viruses, those of their people who infiltrated the earth. In human bodies, they are paving the path for introducing even more demonic forms of life on earth. And all the knowledge in this video is mainly from the Vedas and the channeled material of Set by Jane Roberts. Other traditional religious sources give more fragmented descriptions, but those fragments actually fit very well in the overall big picture of the Vedas and Set, both of which, by the way, mention not only the structure of this universe, but also they speak of other universes and even levels of existences which are beyond all universes. And in both sources, the cluster of universes, like endless bubbles, are compared to something like a kindergarten for emerging souls. The way in which learning takes place in the different realms is also quite different and is adjusted by repeated experiments by the teachers in the given realm. For example, in the realm of the planets which are similar to Earth, the reincarnation style has been adopted because it shows good results. More information about it you can find in the video How is Life on the Other Planets on my channel, New Earth. Hell is a very general term and can signify either some of the realms in which the souls reside after their human existence, or in between their human existences, to be more correct. And yet, in other cases, it may signify getting born on something like planets, other realms, other places where the predominant species are tamasic, full of darkness, with the dark beliefs. Seth makes a very relevant for our time remark in this regard. He says the more given race or culture or civilization is divorced from the universal principles of goodness, the more that manifests in tyrannic, oppressive, and in the acute cases, cruel central governing structure. And the more centralized it is, the more oppressive. There is a very popular modern belief that hell is simply a mental state. By itself, the statement is absolutely true and actually accurately describes the essence of hell, because in our group of planets, so to say, the things work like this. First, one creates a reality on astral level, and then the material elements simply group themselves in structures according to the way they have been stirred by the underlying astral reality. However, unfortunately, the incarnated devils who advertised this type of teachings had something else in mind, and they succeeded. They start with a statement of truth, and then they, as usual, they attached the clever lie at the end of the fairy tale. And you see, because it is just a mental state, you can change your reality at any time just by changing your mind. Sounds good, but unfortunately, the reality is different, And it doesn't even matter much. Do you end up in astral hell or in a physical one? Because the feeling is the same. And in both cases, you can't get away. However, the souls, they decide by themselves how fast or how slow they want to learn their lessons, and they can postpone facing the ugly realities of their own mindsets in most cases, because when they sink too deep in perversion and distortion of the divine, they sometimes have to be removed from the association of the better students, not to pollute the atmosphere. And in those cases, the souls become isolated. For example, the soul is placed forever in a stone or something like this, or uh, destroyed, recycled, because they're made of eternal energy. They're not really destroyed, but they're recycled into other things which have nothing to do with the personality, the evil personality, which was previously made of that energy. But that is only for extreme cases. I think amongst the audience of the New Earth channel, there aren't such seriously defective souls, and we are all more or less on the same level. We decide when are we gonna face severe challenges if we have any beliefs which need to be straightened in order to become benevolent divine creators as our creator. And the peculiarity of the kindergarten called Earth is that it is a kind of a fast track learning place compared to most other realities. Only brave souls come here because the difficulties can be extreme. In most other realities, they are learning much slower, or in some cases, hardly learning anything at all, because they are also lazy souls who simply don't want to face the ugly thought forms they created, and they get stuck, they don't learn, and they just kind of vegetate forever. The reason for which the devils are preaching with the help of mass media that hell is only a mental state and you can cancel anytime at wish is just because they want fresh recruits for their demonic army, and more importantly, for them, we are like food. Once we subscribe to their beliefs, they can suck out our energy and celebrate. Some modern people find the classic depictions of hell as devils cooking people alive or torturing them in hideous way, sounding like some sort of archaic fantasy. But most likely they are corners in the dark belt of worlds which look exactly like this, because now, as Kali Yuga progresses and the devils turn Earth more and more to their liking, we see more and more those same archaic horror scenes unfolding life in front of our eyes, more and more in the gulags, in some prisons like Guantanamo, and in wartime. And by the way, in this video, I decided to use artificial intelligence generated images. Since hell is its motherland, the imagery will be genuine. And since the topic of hell is rather dark, let's say something positive in this regard. The positive is that one doesn't have to live through all the ugly thought forms he or she ever created, but only some. If some of the ugly thought form creations are subsequently in that same life recognized as wrong and inappropriate and divorced from the angelic standards of goodness. And one understands fully and in depth what kind of mistake he made and why he made it, and he corrects his entire belief system, then usually he will be put to the test again. And if this time he reacts mentally or physically according to the divine standards, then he might be kind of forgiven and may not have to face partially or completely the consequences of his ugly action or thought. Another good thing is that when one faces the consequences of one's dark thoughts or actions, it is more or less he gets them in the same quantity or intensity, in terms of as much as he hurt others or his own being, he gets the reaction for this in the same amount, so to say, while the reactions to one's good deeds and thought are multiplied many times. And that's why the beings in the higher realms, known as heaven, live for much, much longer than the earthly residents, hundreds, thousands, or even millions of years. While if one happens to be born in hell, over there, the lifespan is very short. There are yet other types of demonic races who have purely astral bodies, and they seem to be kind of immortal from our point of view, but not from absolute point of view, because even the astral elements, they are created together with the universe or after the universe is created, and will be dissolved or called back by the creator at the end of the existence of the universe. Or to be more precise, more likely they will be dissolved during the next cosmic pralaya, or the cyclic cleanup, rejuvenating destruction, so to say, which takes place at regular intervals, which are different for the different locus or realms. The higher belts of realms, they face pralaya way less frequently. The Earth is in the middle belt of planets. It is neither in hell nor in heaven, according to the broader sense of these terms, but not exactly in the middle, but slightly above the average, so to say, where is the half of light and darkness. It is somewhat above that, and that's why the human species is a species of light. This doesn't really transpire if we observe the modern humans, but luckily, we still have some clues about the true old history, and that confirms that we are a beings of light originally, and we were for a very, very long time in the period of 1000 years ago and before that. The modern explanation, or at least the most popular one, of what time is, doesn't hold much water. Otherwise, time travel would be impossible, and also viewing the past and the remote future. And the concept that all times exist simultaneously is way more near to the reality. And I would like to bring to your attention in this regard an interesting material from Seth in terms of the very building blocks of our existence here. Contrary to the popular belief, it is not exactly scientific belief that the material surroundings are the absolute basis and reference points of everything, because in reality, so far, science has not discovered any solid, in the real sense of the word, particles of matter. The better machineries they invent, and the better And the smaller particles they isolate, they find always the same thing: energy, nothing really solid as such. So, energy is the absolute reference point of everything and the building material. But how is it organized? It is not like, okay, energy organized in a chair, in a table, in a human. Not really like that. The energy manifests in terms of building blocks of situations. And all the material objects, these are just the props of these situations. And the situations are created as playgrounds for the living beings to learn. And it is all very highly advanced magic in our terms, because different living beings can participate in the same situation in different ways and learn different lessons, or not learn anything at all. They can be there as teachers as well. But of course, even the teachers are given different subjects to teach, and those are the subjects which they want to master. The designer of the situation building blocks is karma itself. And deciding to incarnate on earth is pretty much like deciding to play a computer game. It works in the same way. Once you start the game, you're given different choices to choose different avatars for yourself, to go left and right, or engage in this and that activity. And in the same way, you actually choose the avatar before you incarnate. But once the game starts, you can choose different paths in life. But it is very important to understand that all these paths are already fixed by the person who designed the computer game. And in the same way, you do have choices in the paths of life, but they are not endless. They're based on what you are supposed to learn and how many karmic points you have to spend in terms of luxuries. I mean, karmic luxuries. And once you learn a satisfactory amount of lessons in your life, you get enough karmic points to get to the next level of the game. And once you have accumulated enough knowledge to move to the next level, immediately they give you more advanced avatar to play with. In real life, that means that you get some sort of maybe mystic powers or extraordinary abilities, which you can use. And as soon as you start functioning on the next higher level in the computer game, immediately the situations change, the surroundings change. But the principle remains the same. There are always challenges, like a huge stone is rolling towards you. And you do have options, but they're kind of preset options. Either you can escape it, or you can be run over, or maybe you can escape it by dodging or by flying in the sky, things like this. But they're not endless. Whatever the programmer has put in the computer game, that's what you can do. And depending on the outcome of this situation, your next situations are formed. So, getting back to the original comment which triggered this video, where are the demonic realms? It's an entire belt of worlds in the universe, but the hell about which we hear most is the one below Earth, whatever that means, because it seems to be somewhat in a different dimension according to some descriptions. But probably that's normal, because even the Earth as we know it seems to go through different phases in different dimensions depending on which cosmic cycle it is. So it seems that the dimensional variations are very commonplace in the creation. Do we reach them after we die? Well, I guess the incarnated devils from Earth, when they die, they go there straight, and also people who are extremely evil and they have turned themselves into demons during this lifetime. They may go the fast track there directly, but most people, they're still mixed. They have light and darkness at the same time, and for them, when they die, they go to a place of reflections where they contemplate how did I do during the last incarnation, because over there, yes, there is some learning going on, but the place where actually the soul changes is here on earth, or some of the other educational centers structured in a different way in terms of building blocks. What happens after we die is quite complex, and the best source for this, which I have encountered, are the books of Michael Newton. Some souls, especially those which are not yet much developed, they have difficulty understanding that they have died, and they remain very much attached to the style of life on earth. So, what that type of souls decide to do in between lives is there are vast worlds, so to say, areas of the astral world near, or so to say parallel to Earth, where such souls set up astral landscapes or environments mimicking their occupation or cultural background on Earth. The souls of carpenters who still have a nostalgic feeling for that activity will come and gather in astral woodworking workshops, although there is no need of wooden furniture over there. One example out of the many. And this enormous section of the astral world near the Earth is described in the set material in the Michael Newton books, and extensively in the works of Monroe, the founder of the Monroe Institute. And the more experienced souls, they join their learning groups on the other side, and their natural astral surroundings, and some can go even beyond. Once they learn all their lessons in this group, they join even higher groups. Other souls, they decide to live for completely different realms. It is usually not done in an isolated manner, but groups of souls tend to travel. For example, it is very common for the souls to repeatedly take birth in the same family, in the same clan, as a granddaughter, a grandchild, or a son, or a daughter, or cousin. It is the same soul because they find it easier. They're used to the surroundings, to the ways, to the language, to the mindset, and they don't need this adaptation period as if they have landed on an alien place. But all clans, all dynasties and families, they come to an end because the entire civilizations and nations come to an end at some point. And then we have a big group of souls who have been there repeatedly, who are kind of used to each other. They have karma together, and they are at the crossroad. So, what happens in that situation is, let's say they will divide, and some of them will leave completely and go to live in another loka, or realm in another dimension, while others will decide to populate a new nation which is being formed on Earth or some of the neighboring locus. But when a soul decides to depart and go and learn in a completely different local where the physical laws, the dimensions, the structure of matter, everything is completely different, it kind of gets transformed. There is a transition, and practically the memories from here, not the qualities which it developed, but the technical memories of the local environment, they are usually lost to a large extent. And that's why during the past life regressions and the future life progressions, it is very rare to have vague glimpses of how life is in those other environments. The question continues: do you escape the demonic realms by reincarnating? Yes, in the sense that if you are born in hell, when you die, you can maybe get born in a higher realm, unless you need to get born in hell a few more times. But escaping in the sense of never facing the fruits of your misconceptions, I'm afraid that's not possible. Although, in most cases, one can delay, even indefinitely, the time when this happens. And the last part of the question: who are the entities who are trying to get to us? Well, they have their own mystic gurus, all these demonic races, demonic species, and their mystics and shamans. They have informed them that Kali Yuga is upon Earth, and many of these races started infiltrating it by setting up their own bloodlines here and sending their own people again and again to get born there, promoting them to key governing positions so that they conveniently turn Earth into hell, because now they have green light for it. It is not just the reptilians or another single race, it's a bunch of them. And that's another reason for which their clans on Earth, they also fight with each other, because all these demonic species are of course hostile to each other a lot. Demons are always hostile to everything and anybody. And since the topic of this video is the real cosmology, maybe we should say a few words about the heliocentric and the geocentric models of the nearby portion of the universe. In the Bible, the earth is depicted as the absolute center of everything, anyway. And the lords of the other realms are mentioned only indirectly, no details are given. I don't know if that was the situation with the original Bible, or was it made to look like this by those who edited it, because they were trying by all means to narrow the horizon of the knowledge of the human race as much as possible. I have seen attempts to denominate the Vedas as geocentric as well, but this is misleading. Also, I have seen lots of time mentioning that the Vedas say that the Earth is flat. This is very limited point of view, although many times the Earth is mentioned as mandala, which may imply or may not that it is flat. In many other places, it is described as gol, which means a ball, a sphere. But there is no debate there about its actual physical shape. Mostly it is described as a loka, which means a realm. And although this realm is amongst the millions and billions of other realms, somewhere in near the uh, middle of the universe in terms of light and dark gradient, still there is no indication that it is the main pivot of the universe or anything like that. Just on the opposite, the capital of the universe is Brahma Lokam, where Brahma, who is an incarnation of the Supreme Creator, manages and creates this universe. And if there is any center of the universe according to the Vedas, maybe the best candidate for that would be Brahmaloka, his abode, the abode of Brahma. In the Vedic Jyotish books, the books of astrology, there are very complex calculations for astrological purpose. Sometimes they are made with the sun as reference point, sometimes of the earth. But this is a very practical thing. It's not about the center of the universe. If they were making the astrological chart of somebody from Venus or something like that, then Venus would be the reference point, because what is required are the planetary positions in the sky of the given place of the given time. Basically, because the science of Jyotish is meant for earthly residents, that's why, as it says in its own scriptures, the place of birth is always taken as the reference points when the calculations of the positions of the celestial bodies are made. So when Earth is the center, that's because the person whose chart is being made has been born on Earth. There have been scriptures with heliocentric models of the solar system from the Vedic context with official dating 5th century. However, again, this is just about the center of the solar system and not of the entire universe. There are always people who think, okay, so I've heard that after we die, we are our own judges. And now I hear that we can even delay the reactions of our wrongdoings, and that's really good. I can continue being mean to others and revengeful and not treat them the way I would like to be treated myself, because there is no danger. I will simply delay forever the reaction for that. But this is not how things work. Otherwise, souls wouldn't get born in millions on earth uh, to suffer in difficult conditions, actually. Because to get born on earth, that is absolutely voluntarily done, and the souls know very well in advance in what kind of situations they will end up. And even you personally, if you have ever had difficulties in life, you knew about it beforehand, and still you wanted to come and get born, and the good chances are that you will want to do it again, maybe even in more difficult conditions. And it works like this because you take these decisions in a state of expanded consciousness when you understand the value of learning, and not in your current situation when your memory is erased. And when you judge yourself, again, you are in that expanded state of consciousness. And apparently, in that state, the souls have very different priorities compared to modern men.